Night fell, a mother and daughter strolled down the street. In the midst of their conversation, the mother's gaze never left Jana. Her eyes reflected boundless pride in her daughter. Suddenly, a man in black violently pushed the mother and daughter aside. He forcefully snatched the mother's handbag. What happened next was shocking.
No!
Jana, panicked, knelt beside her mother, her voice trembling. She called out repeatedly, yearning for a miracle. The police received the news and quickly arrived at the crime scene. The murderer left no clues behind. While investigating the scene, Taylor unexpectedly saw Jana, whom she recognized. Benson closely protected Jana. She could hardly imagine how Jana felt watching her mother Annie get killed. The psychological blow must have been immense. At that time, she had been invited to the opening party of a hair salon. The owner, Luke, took Annie to a room after the party and assaulted her. When Annie woke up, feeling pain and realizing her underwear was on backward, she immediately reported it to the police. During the interrogation, Luke insisted that their encounter was consensual. The coroner found traces of a drug in Annie's system, which was confirmed to have come from Luke's hair salon. The reason the trial had been delayed until now was that Luke's lawyer had used various tactics to postpone the trial. As long as Annie could appear in court next week, Luke would definitely lose the case. The police discovered through surveillance that the murderer was targeting Annie. This robbery and murder case seemed like a premeditated killing. Although Jana's emotions calmed slightly, she was still trembling all over. The scene of her mother's death was etched in her memory. Everything happened so quickly that she couldn't see the murderer's face clearly. Jana has been consumed by self-blame. She believes that the reason the murderer managed to escape is that she failed to pull off his hat. With the persuasion of Benson and Taylor, Jana gradually calmed down. She took the initiative to recall the previous experiences. Jana stated that, about a week ago, someone had been lurking in the shadows of the sidewalk, watching her mother. Her mother had also received multiple threatening phone calls. These experiences didn't shake her mother's resolve. Her mother was unafraid of the threats. Jana firmly believed that Luke was behind it all. He had plotted to harm her mother. Then, Tutu uncovered key information. The threats were made using an unregistered disposable phone. They investigated the location where this phone was sold. It was located near Luke's hair salon. Based on this information, Benson and Taylor immediately went to find Luke. When questioned, Luke claimed he had an alibi. He was having dinner with PR manager Maria at the time. Then Luke's lawyer suddenly appeared, interrupting the conversation. This seasoned lawyer was privately nicknamed the Old Fox. He skillfully guided Luke to remain silent, keeping him tight-lipped about everything. This minimized Luke's direct contact with the police. Taylor then sought out the PR manager, Maria, mentioned by Luke. Maria stated that they indeed had dinner together. Afterward, Luke went to a nearby church to volunteer, helping the homeless there for free. It must be that the police misunderstood Luke. He was a generous and selfless person. Meanwhile, Benson arrived at the church. Through the nun's words, she learned Luke had been dedicated to helping others in recent years. He was like a savior sent by God to the homeless. He was passionate about changing the image of the homeless and helping them regain their confidence. He inspired them to take the first step toward a better life. She informed the police that the last homeless person Luke helped was named Eddie, messy, disheveled, and annoying. That was Eddie's first impression on Benson. When faced with Benson's questioning, Eddie stated that Luke did intend to cut his hair that night. But Luke's mind was clearly elsewhere. His absent-minded demeanor suggested his thoughts were drifting away. At this moment, a discovery suddenly made him alert. He clearly saw Luke hiding a gun and running out. The police found the gun and ammunition related to the case at Luke's residence. By matching the model, the bullet casings matched perfectly with those left at the crime scene. Additionally, the gun and a black coat found by the police almost completely matched the tools used by the murderer. They arrested Luke. Faced with the police's evidence, Luke was restless. He explained that those items were for preparation to go to a shooting range. Benson and Taylor's relentless questioning left Luke unable to think clearly. Even the old fox shouted loudly, but couldn't interrupt his chaotic thoughts. Luke's eyes were unfocused, and his lips trembled. Just as his mental defenses were about to collapse, the prosecutor entered, bringing a twist to the case. Upon examination, the bullet casings fired from Luke's gun showed differences in firing pin marks from the casings found at the crime scene. Moreover, the coat worn by the murderer didn't match the brand of the coat found by the police. These interruptions in the evidence forced the police to release Luke. Luke's brazen demeanor as he left the police station was witnessed by Jana, who rushed over. Jana was filled with confusion. Why could the person suspected of killing her mother leave without a care? Anger, disappointment, and grief tore at Jana's soul. In the past, Jana firmly believed in the police's justice. She believed that the law would ultimately bring justice for her and her mother. Yet in reality, the assault case from 2 years ago still hadn't gone to trial. Now the murderer of her mother was free to go. This shattered Jana's last hope for justice. Now, Jana gave up attending the prom to bury her mother. It was as if Jana had buried her future along with herself. The police firmly believed that Luke was hiding something. They dispatched Benson and Tutu to secretly keep an eye on him. They soon discovered that Luke entered the church shelter and went straight to Eddie. Analyzing the scene of their argument, it was clear that there was more going on between them. Just as Tutu approached to ask, Eddie suddenly fled. Benson quickly caught up and subdued Eddie. They found a phone on him, which further confirmed their connection to the case. During this interrogation, Luke's mental defenses completely collapsed. He confessed the truth. He had hired Eddie to intimidate Annie. In order to prevent her from testifying, he didn't intend for him to kill Annie. Instead, it was Eddie who asked for more money and decided on his own to kill Annie. It was because Annie had seen him before during the tracking process. In addition, Annie had insulted him verbally on the phone, which angered him. This made Eddie want to kill him. However, Eddie's interrogation didn't go smoothly. Faced with ample evidence, he insisted on his innocence and requested the assistance of a lawyer. Given that the murder weapon has not yet been found, the police can only temporarily detain him on charges of disturbing public order and intimidation. However, unexpectedly, within just 2 hours of the police continuing their investigation, Eddie vanished into thin air while being transported to the detention center. Upon questioning the police who released Eddie, it was learned that ATF agent Sherry had interrogated him. When the police tried to obtain more detailed information, the other party adopted a condescending attitude. He refused to answer, suppressing them with his authority. Faced with this situation, the police had no choice but to comply with his orders. The police found Sherry. He claimed that Eddie was involved in an undercover operation related to a tobacco smuggling case. The amount involved was substantial. In this operation, Eddie's role was particularly crucial. Moreover, the ATF's authority superseded the police's, so they had no right to take him away. Although Sherry's words seemed reasonable, Taylor wasn't impressed. He insisted on keeping Eddie under police control. If he escaped again, the consequences would be unpredictable. Seeing that the two sides couldn't reach an agreement, Sherry settled for a compromise. Taylor would accompany Eddie in the arrest operation. The next day, Eddie's casual brotherly behavior made Taylor even more disgusted. While conversing with the smugglers, Taylor, disguised to perfection, used his superb acting and careful speech to dispel their suspicions and defenses. They displayed their goods with complete lack of caution, even surprising Taylor somewhat. Just as the operation was going smoothly, the camera in the box experienced a signal failure. Sherry, without communicating with Taylor, called in a large number of officers. Although several smugglers were immediately arrested, Eddie took the opportunity to escape amid the chaos. Sherry tried to make up for the mistake and immediately pursued Eddie. However, when Taylor caught up, he found that Eddie had knocked him down and vanished. Sherry's case was a great success, but the police found themselves in a dilemma due to Eddie's escape. Taylor felt deep regret. He regretted not being able to kill that villain at the time. He also felt he had let Jana down. Despite Sherry's repeated apologies, it was still difficult to calm the turmoil inside him. Sherry's words sparked another wave in the case. As a homeless man, Eddie was in urgent need of money, and his deal with Luke wasn't yet complete. This indicated that Luke's situation was now terrible. The police rushed to Luke's residence. Sure enough, Eddie was there. The police raid disrupted Eddie's plans. He had to take Luke hostage. What Eddie didn't expect was that Luke was worth nothing in the eyes of the police. Ultimately, under the police's stern warning, Eddie had to release Luke and surrender. As Taylor was making the arrest, Benson successfully obtained the weapon suspected of being used to kill Annie. Through scientific examination, the bullet casings found at the crime scene matched perfectly with those fired from the gun. Eddie would face charges of first-degree murder. If convicted, he would be sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. Upon hearing this judgment, Eddie immediately fell into a panic. In order to reach a plea deal with the police, he detailed the entire account of Luke's assault on Annie. He was willing to testify in court, just as the prosecutor agreed to reduce his charge to second-degree murder and adjust the sentence to 25 years. Eddie prepared to reveal an even more explosive piece of information for further leniency.
Drop it down to murder 3, I'll tell you an even juicier story.
Benson and Taylor actually went to the ATF to find Sherry. It turned out that the gun used to kill Annie actually came from Sherry. After an in-depth investigation, the conspiracies that had been lurking in the shadows were revealed. It turned out this wasn't Sherry's first violation. As early as 2 years ago, during a carefully planned undercover operation, a patrol officer was killed. After detailed investigation and evidence collection, the weapon was found to be a service pistol from within the police department. After the operation, the service pistol was never found. It was not until the case was exposed that it was discovered that the pistol in Eddie's hand was the one that had been missing for years. Given the situation, Sherry could not refute and had to reveal the whole truth. Using the pretext of protecting his own safety, Eddie demanded a weapon from Sherry. The reason the strong Sherry was taken down by Eddie with a single blow was entirely because he had deliberately let Eddie go after learning that Annie was killed, in an attempt to cover up his own illegal actions. All 3 suspects have now been arrested. They will certainly face the most severe legal penalties. Meanwhile, a nun at the church discovered a large number of photos of Annie being stalked and secretly photographed in Eddie's locker. After learning the news, Jana rushed to the scene, under Benson's guidance. She saw the culprit in the detention room. At this moment, anger still filled her heart. After a calm stare, Jana turned and left. Suddenly, gunfire rang out. Luke and Eddie fell to the ground at the sound. The scene was in chaos. Jana, whose eyes were bloodshot with rage, looked at the nun lying on the ground in a panic. A sense of powerlessness welled up. The ending should have ended like this, however.
I should have killed you with your mother.
The bloodthirsty demon fell into the abyss. The broken-winged angel returned home. Looking at the girl in her arms, Taylor felt a multitude of emotions. Being blinded by hatred ultimately led to a grave mistake. Angels symbolize purity and justice. In the final moment, they made a stunning move. They broke their own wings, which symbolized flight toward the dawn. With unwavering determination and courage, they descended to the mortal realm to deliver a harsh judgment on the evil demons. This scene is both heart-wrenching and filled with endless tragedy. The brilliance of the film lies not only in the intricate progression of the case, but also in its portrayal of humanity. Jana's initial firm belief in justice eventually crumbled under repeated disappointments. Her struggles and despair showcase the pain faced by victims' families in the face of injustice. Even in the face of numerous obstacles, the police remained steadfast in their duties. They didn't give up on the pursuit of truth. The delayed justice is disappointing, yet it remains the ideal we strive for. Like the stars in the night sky, though faint, they can clearly guide the way. Let's work together to ensure that justice doesn't become a mere fantasy, but rather a brilliance that illuminates reality.